exactly that.
Now scientists here are combing through this fungarium to sequence its entire genetic code for the first time.
So the first step is to sequence the DNA, and we will do that not just with pieces of DNA, but with the whole genome, the whole DNA sequence. And I think that's groundbreaking and it's really exciting. It's like open the Egyptian tombs for the first time. It feels a bit like that.
Kew has the largest collection of fungi in the world, and mycologists working here, along with a team at the Natural History Museum, want to unlock its potential for medicine, agriculture, and environmental restoration. There are 2.5 million species of fungi on Earth, yet so far only 2,000 have had their genomes sequenced. This project means many more will be analysed here. One of the most famous specimens is this mushroom, collected by Charles Darwin almost 200 years ago. It was preserved in a bottle of port, so scientists are still trying to extract its DNA. Fungi was also used to develop antibiotics like penicillin and plays a crucial role in all our lives.
Fungi are everywhere and they underpin every living thing on Earth and all living processes. Everything from the foods we eat to the clothes that we wear, the medicines we take, they are hidden but working constantly and are fundamental to our lives and to every living ecosystem.
The team are hoping to sequence at least 200 specimens a month in a project that will last 4 years, and it's hoped uncover the secrets of fungi that have never been studied before. Layla Hayes, News at 10.
That is it, on a day of really significant shame for our nation, or at least for our government. But thank you for watching, and I'll be back at the same time tomorrow. For now, good
Millions of you owed hundreds of pounds back.
Go get your money back. I'm expecting to see a smile.
I've never been asked for a smile before.
Let's see if it stays.
Thank you for staying up late.
I'll stay up any time. That's made Ed Balls very happy.
Susanna Reid.
You can barely cope with one Susanna Reid.
Good Morning Britain, weekdays from 6. Today will be lovely to start with before quickly spreading to all parts later. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello there, very good evening to you. I hope you've had a lovely start to a brand new week. It is a largely dry picture across the UK as we move through the rest of tonight. A few showers starting to creep in places, and once again that sea fret returning down the eastern fringes, which could be fairly slow to clear. Now, tomorrow itself, as I say, a slow start is likely down the eastern fringes, and there will be some dry, bright weather to start the day. Make the most of this, because as we work our way through Tuesday, it does become rather cloudier and rather more unsettled, with thunderstorms on the cards. Once again, we've got a weather warning for thunderstorms there across much of Northern Ireland, extending as well into parts of the southwest. Now, those showers and thunderstorms are going to be speckled around, so not everyone will see them, but definitely that general theme of being cloudier, a little bit cooler, and a little bit more unsettled. Now, for the rest of the week, we're looking at an increasing risk of rain and thunderstorms and turning a touch cooler as well. Good night, sleep well.
Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
Noswaith dda. The infected blood disaster was not an accident. It could have been avoided and should have been. That's according to a final report published today. In no uncertain terms, the chair of the Infected Blood Inquiry revealed that doctors and successive governments had betrayed and failed patients infected with HIV and hepatitis from contaminated blood during the 70s, 80s and 90s. Today, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak apologised for what he called a catalogue of systemic, collective and individual failures. Our health reporter Katie Fenton has tonight's top story.
34 years. That's how long Colin and Janet Smith have waited to know why their son died. Little Colin Smith, as they call him, was just 7 when he died of AIDS in 1990. A haemophiliac, he'd been treated as a baby with blood products contaminated with HIV and hepatitis C. His parents' lives have been entirely consumed by a struggle for justice ever since.
I just want this apology. I want it sincere. I want it from the heart. I just think we all deserve, our children and all people that have lost somebody who are still fighting, still ill, deserve a real apology.
I'm not like Jan. I don't think the time is right for an apology now. It's too late. They've denied and denied and denied for nearly 40 years for some people. So apology is just a splash in the ocean. I want proper compensation because it's the only thing left open to us.
Today, Colin, Janet and dozens of infected and affected families travelled from Wales to Westminster. United with victims from across the UK, people they've never met, but people they call brothers and sisters. And this is what they waited for.
People put their trust in doctors and the government to keep them safe. And that trust was betrayed. And then the government compounded the agony by telling them that nothing wrong had been done.
The inquiry found a catalogue of failures that led to a treatment disaster that largely could and should have been avoided. The disaster was not an accident, but happened because doctors, blood services and successive governments did not put patient safety first. Successive governments refused to admit responsibility and showed little interest in establishing the truth to save face and expense. It recommended that the UK government makes a meaningful apology. There should be cultural change within the NHS and civil service, and efforts should be made to find any previously unknown victims. And a proper compensation scheme should be set up immediately, along with a permanent memorial for the victims. Do you feel like your fight is over?
Yes. I do, actually. I know. I'll be going to that cemetery tomorrow and I can tell Colin, I think we've done, you've done it, darling. I think you've done it. And I can be at peace.
I think we're getting there. It's not over yet. The government's still got to move along rather than what they've been doing, kicking a can down the road. Sir Brian has urged them to pull their fingers out. Hopefully they will. I think the MPs in it today and Andy Burnham will keep an eye on that.
For decades, these families feel they've been shouting into the wind. Today, their voices were finally heard. Whether their fight is over depends now on how quickly and fully the recommendations are accepted.
Today, those directly affected by what has been dubbed the biggest treatment disaster in the NHS welcomed the publication of the inquiry report, with many now urging the UK government to hurry up and process compensation, details of which we believe will be set out in the Commons tomorrow. Alexandra Hartley takes a look back at the decade-long disaster.
For the tens of thousands of people at the heart of this scandal, it has been a 4-decade fight for justice. In that time, lives have been lost, livelihoods ruined, and dreams shattered. In Wales, more than 400 NHS patients were given contaminated blood and blood products from 1970 to the early 90s, in what has been called the worst treatment disaster in the history of the health service. More than 100 people in Wales have now died after contracting HIV or hepatitis C from a plasma product known as Factor VIII concentrate that was made from blood from high-risk groups such as prisoners and drug users in America. As well as the deaths, hundreds more here have had to live with chronic conditions after being infected. After decades of campaigning and a 5-year inquiry, we now know this should never have happened.
We know that the patients were treated without consent, and it's just very worrying that government just accepted that, and there was no candour, there was no truthfulness, and that line was taken, and that continued.
It's a deadly disease and there is no known cure.
Adverts like this in the 80s fueled fears, but also meant many families were vilified, and for some, the stigma was crippling.
If you ignore AIDS, it could be the death of you.
It's why many, like Owain's late father Norman from Treorchy, never spoke openly about living with HIV.
At the time, I was quite angry, I've got to be honest, because the secret had been kept from myself and my sister. The inquiry, to be honest, has helped a lot in